So my dog Beer and I here, we're down in South Dakota doing a little pheasant hunting, and got a call from my friend here, Jim Carroll, and he said, you should get up here to Bismarck on the Missouri River. The fish are really starting to bite. So we made a little trek up here, and we're gonna go out today and try and figure out the river. Now the current is up this time of year, especially this year, because all of the upper reservoirs, Sakakawea, Fort Peck, they're all full right now. So this fall they're letting a lot of water come down through, and therefore we've got a lot of current down here on the Missouri River. So me and Jim are going to try and figure out just exactly where the fish are. We're going to probably do a lot of jigging to figure them out. But I tell you what, the moon is going down, the current is up, and we're going to show you how to get the next bite.
Even though Keith Kavajecz and Jim Carroll are up before the moon has gone down, the perfect fall weather has put a little extra bounce in Jim's step as they launch.
Perfect fall day. Sun's gonna shine. It's gonna be a nice day.
And although it seems this day is off to the same start as any other beautiful day on the water in North Dakota,
Boy, this river is really humping, isn't it?
It is. There's a lot of current coming down today.
the pieces of this jig bite pattern will undoubtedly be directed by the increase in current flow. But for now, it's simply about where to start. River fishing is all about real estate, and for Keith Kavajecz and Jim Carroll, staying current on the current situation means location, location, location. And if you're going to cruise the local sandbar for walleyes, why not have beer in the boat?
Is there fish down there, Beer? Is there fish down there?
Okay, so not actual beer, but rather Keith's budding hunting and fishing partner, Beer, as in the dog, who is every bit as excited as Keith and Jim to put a pattern together for jigging fall, shallow, muddy Missouri River walleyes.
Careful there, Beer. Catch and release, not catch and eat here, buddy.
Keith, I got one. I think it's a good one.
How good is it?
Feels like a good one.
A little bit up there, Jim.
There you go. Oh, good
Nice,
one.
good fish.
Yeah. Nuclear chicken.
Looks like you pounded it pretty good.
Yeah.
You're right in the nose here.
Yeah, you hit it good.
What do you call that?
That's nuclear chicken.
Yeah, only you would come up using that. Look at that. That's a pretty fish. Look at there. Look at that fish. Oh, that's a good one, isn't it?
Nice.
Ah, that's a nice fish.
fish.
Yes.
Oh, tasty.
We're going to put them back in the water before you eat them. Here we go.
These shallow water walleyes are hard fighting from fins up
It's so shallow here. I set the hook and he's right to the surface.
to fins down.
I was up in about 4 or 5 feet of water. I didn't even turn my crank one time. It's so shallow here.
And as the early morning afterglow resolves itself into a crisper, brighter blue horizon, a couple of more clues to the pattern are becoming clearer as well.
I just put that whitetail on. It's that little white ripple shad. Yeah. Just put that on. Obviously you wanted it, right? Yeah, I got a better one, Jim.
That looks like a good one.
Here's another. Looks like a really good one. It's only in 5 feet of water, so I'm surprised it's fighting this good. Yeah, nice fish. There we go. The jig fell out.
Yeah.
That's a good fish. Only about 4 or 5 feet of water, but we're sitting right in behind that sandbar, and the current's reduced a little bit. You know, the water's flowing so fast, you really just got to look for stuff that isn't flowing quite as hard so you can try and get where they're living right now. There's still plenty of current back here. You don't want slack water, but you don't want that raging water.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right on the current seam.
Take it. What was that there, Beer? There we go. Well, that was fun. I think we'll just circle right back up there and get another one, huh?
The conditions we're faced with today is we have a lot of water coming down the river. Ordinarily, in a more normal flow situation, we'd probably be working the channel edges, but there's just too much current coming down the river right now, so we need to get away from that fast current and find areas of reduced current. So behind me here is a classic Missouri River spot. We're fishing a bend on the river. On the outside of the bend, you got that heavy current just ripping along the bank, and right now that's just too much current for the walleyes. That's not where they want to be. So we're looking for areas of reduced current, and as you can see, there's a sandbar that actually sticks out into the river on the inside of the bend, and that's slowing the current down. But the real key is behind that sandbar you need a little bit of water, what we like to call a chute. And if you can tuck in behind a sandbar and find 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 feet of water with just a little bit of current coming through, that can often be the best place to look for a walleye here on the Missouri River when it's flowing like it is today. A little better than I thought.
lift that one in.
Surprise me, all right?
If it was mine, I'd make you net him, but you can go ahead and lift him in.
Beer was gonna net that one for me.
Since it's just yours, you'd go ahead and lift her in.
Is that a good one, Keith?
Pretty good. Pitched it out there a ways.
Is that a netter?
I think so. There he is.
Oh, nice fish. Real nice fish.
Real nice fish.
He was in shallow water, huh?
Well, I think there's a little deeper trough out there.
Okay.
We're in like 2 or 3, but I'm thinking that.
That's a
Well, for my jig, it's up.
nice fish.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice fish.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it is.
He really popped it too. Just a real nice. Boom. It's got that ripple tail on it.
Well, that vibration definitely helps.
Yeah, it's dirty water. They probably key in on it and then come up and whack it. Look at there. Got that orange head on there and then that ripple tail. I mean, he just pounded it out there. It was not too hard with that fire line and no stretch line. You feel them pretty easy, but yeah, we were just cruising down this 2.5 foot and I pitched it out and I noticed my jig took a little while to sink, so there must be a little trough out there. So
Sure, little shoot in there then.
we'll head and maybe try and vertical jig it or maybe just keep pitching.
Yeah.
There we go. You shouldn't take too long. Perfect.
Pulling quite a few more fish out of the shallows by continuing to pitch the jigs over vertical jigging them has now both Keith and Jim putting the icing on the pattern by bringing the cast.
Okay, bring him around, Jim.
Here it comes.
I'm ready. Nice fish. Nice. Yeah, you missed it, didn't you? No. Gotta call the dog up. I'm gonna just leave it to you. Get back on this motor so we can keep catching.
Yeah. Keep us on the spot, Keith. That's a nice fish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Chartreuse and orange head, huh?
Ripple shad again. That's
Very
pretty
nice.
walleye.
When they get up that shallow, they're aggressive
It's
as
a no
heck.
doubter, yeah.
Had kind of an interesting thing happen today. What we did was we started out fishing a lot of vertical jigging. You know, it's a great way to cover water out in the river. There's a lot of current going. And we were fishing anywhere from, I would say, as shallow as 6 feet all the way out to 15, 20 feet deep looking for the fish. Well, we got up one of these chutes and got towards the end of it, and it was only about 2 feet at the end. So I just decided to pitch out a jig for a little while until we got to the little bit deeper water of the chute. And lo and behold, as we're coming down, we got a real nice fish on. Both Jim and I, being tournament fishermen, right away we kind of knew, geez, this might be a pattern. And that's exactly what it was. What's happened is fish have come up so shallow up these chutes that you can't vertical jig over them. They're only in about 2, maybe even 1.5 feet, 2 feet of water. So instead of vertical jigging, I just held off to the edge of the trough, pitched up into, still where it's a little bit of a trough, but we weren't running the boat over it. And by doing that, we've caught just a ton of fish. So sometimes you might think a fish is a fluke, but more often than not, it's a pattern, and a pattern that'll catch a lot of walleyes.
That guy, he hit that thing like a freight train, that little guy did.
Outrageous bite.
It was. In my experience, color is very important on the Missouri River. In dingy water or low light conditions, we want to use a brighter bait like this chartreuse pearl, or my all-time favorite, nuclear chicken. In cleaner water or higher skies like we have right now, I like the more natural colored shapes, like the colors like the black shad or the emerald pearl. And the one that probably bridges all conditions is white. Pearl white on the Missouri is just deadly. So remember, experiment with colors and let the walleyes tell you what's right for the conditions.
Oh, this is a good one, Jim.
Looks like a good one. You grabbed the net.
Definitely. I like when the drag tweaks out a little bit. We're sitting in 3 feet, but I'm thinking that fish was a little bit deeper. It just felt like the jig was dropping a little deeper. Nice fish,
Jim.
Jim.
That is a nice fish.
You see that one, Beer? Oh, look at that one, Beer. When he comes up, get him. Nice.
Oh, Beer.
Nice.
Nice one.
I just dumped it. No, Beer, that's not. Is that a good fish?
Good one, Keith.
I mean, look at this. Look at how he pounded that jig. That's the way you want to see that jig.
He killed it.
Just perfect hook set. Little orange head on it with that, like a pearl body on it. It's a nice jig. That's a pretty fish. Look how they got kind of that greenish, bluish tinge to them.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful Missouri River walleye there. And talk about fun on when you're casting on that jig with that fire line. I mean, it's just
It's unmistakable.
It just jumps.
Yeah, that line
just jumps. I'll get him back in the old river here so we can get another one. This is too much fun. Too much fun. Just slowly sinks away. I guess you don't got too far to go, about 2.5 feet is
That
all.
one was pretty shallow again. Oh, I missed him.
I saw that.
He come back. I got him, Keith. It's a good one.
He came
I'm
back?
serious. It's a good one, too.
You missed him and he came
And
back.
he came back.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a
Closer,
good one.
Jim.
That's a good job there,
I
Keith.
got him. I reached.
Nice
There you
fish.
go. Wow, is that a good one, Jim? Boy, he's caught on just the littlest, tiniest piece of skin. Another bite on that ripple shad.
It's a vibration of that thing.
I tell you, in dirty water, that's a great little body because that action tail, you can actually, as you're jigging it, feel that
Yeah,
thing
up on your line.
up on the top. And here's what, pow! That's a nice fish. It's surprising, they must be eating good, but this is the time of year when they even want to eat more. Thankfully, it's ripple shads. Get him back in the water here. Oh, that's a good fish. Look at that one, beer, huh? Is he ready to go? There he goes. There he goes. The lure that's been catching just all of our fish out there pitching is something called a ripple shad. You can see it's got a real action tail on it, and I think that's especially important in this dingy water. And the reason for that is because you can jig this ripple shad in a way that it puts out a lot of vibration and actually draws fish to it. When you start jigging this, one thing to keep in mind is you want to lift the jig a little quicker than you might normally do, because that's going to get that tail ripping up, and then just hold your rod steady and let that jig kind of fall to the bottom. So rip it up, let it sit, let it fall to the bottom, and all the time you're doing this, you're actually attracting fish to that lure with that vibration. Now, once a fish bites this, it's going to be real important to feel that bite. Some of the bites out here have been just extremely aggressive. They're easy to feel. You'll know to set the hook right away. But some have also been very subtle. They've been picking them up off the bottom, so it just feels like weight or mushiness. They've also been ticking it or sucking it in as it drops, and that's a very subtle bite. So what you'll want to do to feel those more subtle bites then is get yourself good sensitive equipment. I suggest a high modulus graphite rod. I like to use about a 6-foot long one. A real long rod, I think, dampens that feeling to your hand a little bit. Maybe the most important thing that you can do though is to use a no stretch line. I'm using Fireline in this case, 6-pound test, and that no stretch line will let any feeling at the jig come down that line, through the rod, to your hand, and you'll feel it right away. Because especially in the river, walleyes like to pick things up and drop them. So the quicker you can feel that bite, the quicker you can set the hook, and the more fish you'll put in the boat.
Topics, leading information on tackle and techniques to make you a better fisherman. Presented by Mercury.
One of the things that's grown to be a staple as far as outboards go is the Mercury Optimax 2-stroke engine. It's been around for a while, very reliable, great top-end speed. Now I know a few years ago what you guys did is try to increase on all those great characteristics inside that Optimax line going to the Pro XS. I have Jeff O'Brien here. He basically knows everything there is to know about this lineup of engines and the Pro XS especially. Now what is the big difference when you're talking just the straight Optimax versus the upgraded Pro XS? What's going on in there?
There's actually quite a few differences between the Pro XS and the standard Optimax family. One of which is there's definitely the fuel system and the ignition system. But one of the big things that you know with the Pro XS is you get a little bit more punch and you get a little more acceleration and top speed. The big part where that comes from is a larger intake to get more air in through the crankcase into the cylinders to get you that bigger bang.
And that's, I suppose, why on the fishing circuits, the Pro XS has just been a top choice out there for guys. You get a great fuel economy as well, as one of the things that I've really noticed running these things in the past. Is there anything in the plans for this year? What's going on with the line in general?
Yeah. The Pro XS originally culminated from a 225, 250 Pro XS, which hit a lot of that bass and bigger walleye boat market. We came down to that with the 150 Pro XS to hit a little bit more of the mainstream, smaller 17, maybe 18-foot boats. And again, we're continuing in that direction with a 115 Pro Pro XS to get into that maybe 15 to 17 foot, that entry-level boat, so people can still enjoy that Pro XS name and all the value that comes with it, but you can get it into an entry-level package.
You know, as far as Mercury goes, they've not only had great products in the past, they're expanding this line of Pro XS engines. So whatever size boat you have, you can get into these engines and have the right size outboard for your boat.
Figuring out switching from vertical jigging artificials to pitching them in order to gain access to the even shallower water of the Missouri River has professional anglers Keith Kavajecz and Jim Carroll, along with Keith's dog Beer, continuing to capitalize on this fall river walleye pattern.
One of the tricky parts about fishing the Missouri River than other rivers is all the sandbars that are out here. In fact, a lot of it isn't really marked on maps, but yet it can be real small spots that are holding a lot of fish, like just a little bit of a ditch or a depression in the sand or things like that. So it's real key when you find some fish, you catch one, always put in a waypoint. You know, whether you can look at shore and see a mark or not, if you put in a waypoint, these units are so precise now that you can get back within several feet of that exact spot again. You can see right here, we're going along the edge of a break here, we caught a fish, I dropped the waypoint, and then we'll start circling that. And we found multiple times today where you circle it, where there's one, there's many. A good GPS is going to put you on lots of fish.
Oh yeah, that's a good one, Keith. That is solid.
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 Solid's good.
Oh, that was fun. All right, that feels really good, Keith. Oh, there. Oh yeah. I got him.
There we go. There we go.
Nice fish.
Jeez, this is fun.
Wow.
He smoked that jig.
Just pounded it.
Oh God. This is so much fun. When they get up shallow like that, it's just stupid how much fun this is.
Beautiful Missouri River fish.
It is. Look at that thing. They're just built perfect.
Stout.
Stout. I'll give it stout.
Stout.
Are they here, Beer? Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? Beer and I were down in South Dakota hunting a few pheasants, and my friend Jim Carroll here gave me a call and said, hey, the fish are biting up on the Missouri River. So since we were this far north, and I got a call from Jim Carroll. All right, you ready?
Yes. Let go of my walleye. Hey, want to give it a kiss? Give it a kiss? Oh, a little more than a kiss.
It's been valuable. I found some. Okay, let's go again. You're definitely going to catch quite a few more of those fish. Quite a few more.
Crappie! Crappie! What do you think of that, Beer? You gulp that baby down, wouldn't you?
For more information on walleyes, muskies, or northern pike, check out the forums, videos, and articles updated daily at thenextbite.com, where you can always count on real fishing information from real fishing experts.